Welcome back to Hey Kentucky. We are now joined by Lexington Mayor Jim Gray, who is one of the candidates for the 6th Congressional District Democratic primary. Mayor, how are you?
Great.
We have a debate coming up on Wednesday. You looking forward to the chance to getting to talk to everybody and all the voters?
That's the way it is, Matt. You know, campaigns are getting out there and mixing it up and getting to see the voters. That's a big deal. You know, campaigns, Winston Churchill said it best. He said that politics is the closest you get to war without weapons sometimes, and he was talking about political campaigns, and that's where the word really originally
I did not even know that. You taught me a lesson. Well, let's talk about this campaign and the issues. It's hard, I think, sometimes for people to focus on the local part of this because there's so much going on nationally. A lot of folks have asked me, why did Jim Gray decide to leave a mayor's job he likes and enjoys to do this? Why take the jump into the congressional race now?
Well, Matt, I'll put it to you this way. I've enjoyed being mayor, and I say routinely, even on a bad day, it's a great job. Sometimes I go on to say that if you have a deep need to be loved, don't run for mayor. Work in a pet store. But I will tell you this, Lexington is on the right track, and our country isn't. There are lots of problems that we need to solve in our country. And I've been about problem solving. That's what I've done as mayor. I believe in it. That's what I did in a family business. And I've learned that working together, you can really get things done. Now that sounds corny and cliche to a lot of people, but I know from experience that you can get things done when you have a goal in mind. You try to bring people together to solve a problem. You know, problem solving is about, I say routinely, that you got to put a bear hug around a problem and wrestle it to the ground. And this is where we are in our country today. And
well, let's talk about that. The news nationally is all about, you know, the raid of Trump's lawyer, and it generally focuses on President Trump. Do you, if you get to Washington, is sort of fighting President Trump or disagreeing with his policies a big sort of goal of yours? And let me ask you this, would you support impeachment of Trump at this point if you were elected?
Well, let me put it this. You use the word fighting. I'm never for fighting anybody. Institutionally, individuals, you know, that's not how you make progress. And when you ask about the president today, you know, the American people deserve the truth, and they deserve a full vetting of the Mueller investigation. And I don't think anybody should interfere with that investigation. Nobody. In fact, I would encourage that the Republican majority should vote on, you know, should say, look, Mr. President, anybody else, you know, there's no place for interference in this investigation.
So you're not willing to say that you would or would not vote to impeach him at this point?
No, I mean, you've got to have your facts before you make decisions like that. Right.
Let's
facts are real important.
A couple of issues. A lot of folks have been focusing on the school shootings in various places. We've had a lot of issues here in Lexington. Do you believe that there is gun legislation that is needed on the federal level? And if so, what would you do?
I do. I believe that the first things first, and that's the Murphy-Cornyn bill, the legislation, which provides for closing the loopholes, the gun show loophole especially.
On background checks?
Yeah, background checks. But, you know, look, last 25 or so years, since 1993, more than 200 million guns have been sold in America. And during that time, 2 million of people who tried to buy a gun were actually denied the gun through a background check. But today, 3 million guns a year are being sold through gun shows and over the internet without background checks. Now, that needs change. That's not right. We're seeing too much evidence that that's not right. And we need to do first things first. We need to go for achievable results. And that's why the Murphy-Cornyn bill is really, in that respect, it's achievable.
Well, 90% of the public tends to agree with you on that one. What about the AQUIC, K-47, or weapons like that? Would you support a bill to ban those?
I'll tell you, I'm not there because we need to go first things first. This is what I've learned in this job. This is what I've learned in the job of being mayor, that you've got to focus on achievable results. Now, you know, I grew up in Kentucky. I grew up in a hunting culture like many Kentuckians. Kentuckians love their guns, but they love their children more. And we've got to make our schools, we've got to make our churches, our malls, our places of worship, even places where we work, we've got to make them safe.
Let me ask you about health care. Reggie Thomas was on here a couple of days ago and said he's the only candidate that favors universal health care. I would ask, do you agree with that? What is your opinion on it? And if not, what are the changes that you believe need to be made?
Well, here again, I'm for achievable change and achievable results. I'm for access to affordable health care for everyone. Now, what we need to do is we need to work on, I believe in continuous improvement. This is something I learned working for Toyota when I built the plant almost 30 years ago, more than 30 years ago now. It's about continuous improvement. Taking what you've got, not throwing it out. You know, the Republicans have tried to repeal and replace the Affordable Care Act. You know, instead, we need to work on what we've got and fix and improve it. Medical devices tax, remove it. You know, encourage inventiveness and innovation. There are many opportunities for improvement, and this is what I've learned as mayor. You know, experience counts in these situations. You've got to dig in. You've got to work on what you've got. 70,000 citizens in our district alone would have lost their health care had the repeal of the Affordable Care Act gone forward. 70,000.
Now, Amy McGrath, one of your opponents, has said that this election in some ways is about change and new blood versus established politicians. Right. You obviously have been in office for a long time. I would assume you disagree with that, but what would you say to that?
Well, you know, there's always fascination with the new, and I understand that. I also know, just like in business, in a family business, that experience matters. Performance and results matter. The experience that I've had, both in the private sector, in a family business, growing a business from actually on the edge of bankruptcy into over $1 billion company today, working all over our country. I'm very proud of a company that's achieved the results and the kind of quality that we have and influenced growing more than 20,000 jobs just in Kentucky alone, 160 plants in the 6th district. Okay, those are the kinds of experiences. That's far beyond just working in government. But working in government, that I can tell you,
so you say there's value in experience.
There's a lot of value in experience. Anybody who suggests that there isn't value in experience, I would say, well, what's the alternative?
Mm-hmm. Now, you've talked a lot about your ability to work with those with whom you might disagree or in the other party, et cetera. I'm always fascinated by the answer to this question. Donald Trump and the current Republican majority. Has Donald Trump done anything, or has the Republican majority done anything that you actually agree with since he's been in office, or has it all been bad?
Oh, well, no, I would say, look, I say routinely that on Monday and Wednesday, I would be able to work with President Trump, I'm pretty sure.
Well, give us an example of something
Tuesday
that you like.
and Thursday and Friday might not be able to.
Yeah.
Well, I think going for tax reform was a good thing. The result, the result is not what should have occurred, however. And all right, let me tell you why. When someone making $50,000 a year is getting a tax cut of $2 a day or about $600 a year, compared to somebody making $1 million a year and getting a $70,000 a year tax cut or almost $200 a day, that's not a tax cut for the middle class. That's a 4% tax cut for somebody making $1 million and 1.6% for somebody making $50,000. That's not going to help the country. And it's not going to help the country when you're adding $1.5 trillion to the debt.
That's still not something you agree with.
No, I said I agree with going after tax reform, Matt. Going after tax reform is important and essential for our country.
Now the debate comes up a week from today, actually.
Yeah.
What do you hope to accomplish, not just in that debate, but in the end of this campaign over the last month? I think people are starting to focus in on it. What do you hope they see to say, I want Jim Gray to be my congressman?
You know, I've learned in this that people like to work. People enjoy working with people they like, all right? So it's important to actually be able to connect with voters. And these debates, they give us a chance to connect with the voters, but also going out into the counties, which I've been doing. I've worked all over these counties in the 6th District when I was growing up and in our business. More than 160 projects, said that already. But, you know, and that's engaging people. And so what you hope that will come out of a campaign is a real earnest understanding of, yes, the issues, but also, you know, how does somebody just operate? how do they get things done? How do they interact with other people?
We will have the mayor and the other two candidates on the debate. That is Wednesday night, 7 o'clock. It will be live at Transylvania. Mayor, thank you very much for joining us.